KTV, Mankato, and North Mankato Public Access is proud to present to you the 2015 Minnesota Air Spectacular, brought to you by Stonepath Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, go to stonepathstudios.com. The 2015 Minnesota Air Spectacular was an overwhelming success, capturing the attention of aviation enthusiasts from all over the region. This large undertaking is made possible by the tireless work of the Mankato community, with several businesses, groups, and individuals working together to make big things happen.
Now Ken brings that airplane straight up into the vertical, looking out that blue sky. As he goes straight up out there, you can actually see the rudder deflect. He sets on the left rudder pedal, executes a hammerhead turn.
The first thing to consider when planning an air show is booking the performers. In 2015, the Air Spectacular hosted several premier flying acts, including the Thunderbirds of the United States Air Force and several other military teams.
There is a convention we go to called the International Council of Air Shows, where all the performers are there, and that's where we found out about some of these acts. We go every year to it, and we get a lot of information there, and we've got some of the best acts in the United States and the world this year at our show. But we check them out. We go in December to this convention. We talk to other shows, and we just meet other people and let us know what's a good act, what aren't, and that's why we're lucky to get a lot of good ones, because we've done a lot of work studying.
Normally at the International Council of Air Shows, which is in December of every year, you find out if you ended up getting one of the major jet demonstration teams. So last December 2014, we found out that the Thunderbirds had selected us for a site in June. So realistically, as soon as we found out, we started logistically planning at that point. I started putting together lists because I knew that the city was interested in me helping them put together the show. Started putting together lists of things that we had to do, people that I wanted to try to bring in on my team in order to pull off this air show and come this June.
The Air Show Network is a company that does anywhere from concessions to marketing, souvenirs, full production at air shows across the U.S. We're a service provider, so all the service providers are out there also, and they come talk to us, and we've done this event in the past. Where we're at now is the supply point for all of the concession stands that are out serving the general public. So we warehouse everything here and manage inventories and supervise the folks out, all of the volunteer organizations from around town that it takes to man the booths and serve the general public.
Most of these people within this industry are very helpful, and they want to promote the air show industry, so they're very helpful in as far as sharing ideas and help being there to pick their brain if you have an idea and you want to bounce it off them. So it's, the ICAS is a very valuable resource for us air shows out there.
Once arrangements had been made for the performing teams, a number of other logistics needed to be taken care of, both in the sky and on the ground. Air show staff worked together with people from North Star Aviation, the Mankato Regional Airport, the City of Mankato, Verizon Wireless Center, and other community groups and volunteers to bring this remarkably complex event together.
It's critical for a successful air show to have sponsorship and chalet sales. They represented about 25% of our overall revenues, and without them, the show wouldn't be financially viable. We're very fortunate in Mankato. As soon as we heard we got a show, we were out selling sponsorship, and we were very successful at it this year, and very appreciative of the local community stepping up to help us out. Those are the tents that line the runway as close as we can get. They're typically the best seats in the house, and when those corporate entities buy them, they're promised a good view, but we also make sure they're well fed and their beverages, both adult and regular beverages for them. So it's a real good chance to have a good time in the summer outside.
Our role with the air show is providing visitor information. So when people come to the air show, we provide information on not only what's going on here today, what else there is to do in the community. So when the air show is done this afternoon, where's there great places to eat, entertainment, places to take kids? We can provide all of that information for folks. The other role we have is helping promote. So pre-promotion to get people here.
Marketing is promoting the air show. I mean, that's the front line. That's Until the planes come into town that week and start making a bunch of noise and start flying overhead, the marketing and the advertising, is what it gets people to, save the weekend and make sure that they come. So, we spend a lot of time working, 4 or 5 months out, getting it ready so that, by the time the show comes, our job is pretty much done.
North Star Aviation is a full-service FBO, fixed-base operation located here at the Mankato Airport. And our role and responsibility for the air show is airside operations. I'm kind of team lead for the air ops portion of the air show, which means anything that's on the air side of the fence, we're kind of in charge of making sure that the aircraft movement is coordinated, static display, fueling of aircraft, logistics through the crowd, etc. is being handled.
Line up the performers and get the acts that we're going to bring into the show, take care of the logistics at the static display aircraft and the logistics that go along with taking care of the static display aircraft. Thunderbirds, I take a very small part in that. Jason Semensky on our team, he's the liaison for the Thunderbirds, and he's actually also helped me with a lot of the responsibilities. I mean, putting on an event of this magnitude takes a lot of very qualified people, or people that have really a passion for aviation, have a passion for putting on the air show. The logistics that it takes to bring 30 to 40,000 people into a small area over a 2-day period is pretty phenomenal.
What I help do is I just make sure things flow smoothly here on the airfield, so all the flying operations can be done, and just kind of help coordinate the different moving parts of making sure that everything operates smoothly. The military, the Air Force has been very generous, both with the regular Air Force and then the Air National Guard and the Air Force Reserve provided that arresting gear. It actually came from Montana. They brought it all the way here with a team to install it. We don't have the skills or the ability to do that, but these guys are trained. They do it every month. They go to different airports and install things like that. Same thing with all that equipment that we brought to support the Air Force. It was something like 200,000 pounds of equipment just to make sure the jets work here and they can operate them. That all came from Minneapolis, from the Air Force Reserve and the Air National Guard.
Some of the other performers, other than the military teams that are here, we're making sure that they've got hangar space, that we're getting them pulled out of their appropriate hangars, making sure they have adequate fuel, making sure they have refreshments, some food to eat, snack on, some quiet space that they can kick back and relax and get away from the crowd. So just a lot of hospitality efforts, if you would, with all of those performers.
We have a 5,000 foot by 40 foot strip of white paint out across the fields by the runway. And that's for the pilots, specifically for the Thunderbirds, to be able to line up, and when they do their maneuvers, they can line up on that line, and then when they go over and do their loops, and when they come from different angles, they can see that line. It helps them orientate themselves to the airport. So that's primarily what they use. To us here as spectators, it looks like they're doing it right over the runway, very close to the crowd, but we paint it out. It's about 1,500 feet away from the crowd, so that for safety purposes, it keeps them away. But they do a great job with the visual effects to make it look like they're very close to the crowd when they do that.
The logistics are particularly challenging when planning for the Thunderbirds, because this legendary group has their own set of rules, regulations, and operations to work through with the airport.
We started the process back in November, so about 6 months ago, and started getting the long lead time items in terms of all the equipment to support the Thunderbirds, reserving hotel rooms, the airspace coordination with the FAA to make sure that they can fly here at Mankato, getting our control tower coordinated and set up, the arresting gear for the Thunderbirds. All those things took a lot of timing and pre-planning to make sure that they'd arrive here this week and ready to go. So when the Thunderbirds and the other military teams arrived, we were all set for that.
So my name is Captain Nick Eberling. I'm Thunderbird 6, which is the opposing solo for the Thunderbirds team. Been on the team here for 1 year. This is my first show season with the team, which we're about halfway through at this point. Prior to being here, I've been a combat fighter pilot flying the F-15E Strike Eagle for the last 9 years, serving in Afghanistan for a couple of tours, which is a really humbling and yet rewarding experience as well, providing closer support for the troops on the ground. In fact, all of our pilots are combat experienced pilots, and we all average around 300 to 500 hours of combat time. Here on the Thunderbirds, the tour is only about 3 years, and we'll each go back to another combat squadron after our service here on the team. One of my favorite things about being here on the Thunderbirds team and being in the Air Force as well is there's a great feeling of team in absolutely everything that we do. A couple of great examples of that are we spend all of our time together. Whether it's work, we hang out together because we're all really good friends in the off season. I fly off the wing of Thunderbird 2. He's our left wing, Major Josh Boudreau, and he flies off the left wing of Boss. And so when we're in Delta formation, only 18 inches apart, I've got ultimate trust that he's going to fly smoothly and fly correctly because my safety depends on it. Even more so, you can think about the people that work on our aircraft. So every show site, we bring around 60 people. 12 of those are officers, 8 of those are pilots, and the 6 of those are us demonstration pilots. But the predominance of the rest of the people are our aircraft maintainers. And they're the ones that own the airplanes. They let me borrow it, for an hour to fly the show on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. But, we really push the boundaries of the envelope for the airplane. Safety is the #1 priority in everything that we do. But one example is I fly upside down 150 feet above the ground. At 0.94 Mach, that's almost the speed of sound, 700 miles per hour. And you really just have to have ultimate trust in the people that work on our aircraft, which we absolutely do.
The thrilling performances of the Minnesota Air Spectacular are made possible by a wonderful group of sponsors and volunteers from the Mankato community.
Here at the air show, we rent out mobility scooters, we have wagons, and we also have strollers.
You really need volunteers and people with good skills to pull this off, a good core group. And then many of those core groups have individuals that they work with. It's kind of like, if you look, it almost looked like a pyramid scheme if you looked at it, but it's a pyramid scheme for that. But it's kind of a centralized command. Folks come back to myself or some others for guidance, but it's decentralized control. Is once it gets out in the field, if there's an issue out in traffic, they don't need to be calling back to me, oh, we've got this issue, what do we do? I said, no, you know your plan better than I do. You take care of the traffic. If it's something that's going to affect the whole air show, then I need to know about it, but otherwise you take care of the problem out there.
Without those volunteers, we wouldn't be able to produce the air show. They're just vital to the success of the show. So like sponsorship, corporate entities in town, the volunteers are equally as important.
It's an amazing amount of work. We all do this as volunteers. We really enjoy it. We want to put on a good show. The public, our main goal is so that they show up, they see the air show, and they think, oh, that was really cool. They get to see aviation, they get to see the military. And they have no idea how it happened, and that's perfect. But there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and certainly there's literally hundreds of people out here, and each of us has our own little piece, and everyone on the team has worked really well together. We each have our little piece of the jigsaw puzzle. It's coming together this week, and I think we're going to have a great show.
A special thanks to all those who participated in making the 2015 Minnesota Air Spectacular a successful event.
I'm counting on you, kid. Don't run me over. Don't run me over. Here we go. Oh, look at this, folks. Right into my hand. That's Ken Peach. What a showman. Holy cow.